Guys, here we are. Ryan was over here earlier today and helped me get this little feller up here to the front of the shop to get the motor, I guess, it's coming out. We got a little project that we're working on, and we're trying to go racing before too long. And since this is a chromoly cage and stuff like that, I think we're going to just turn this into a streeter, and there's no reason to have a big block that makes some pretty good power in it and all the good stuff in it. So we're going to slowly start taking off the good stuff in here and working on a new project shortly, but for right now we have another project that we're working on. So we got two projects that we're going to be working on here. Three technically. We're going to have our hands full, but it's going to be fun. The content should be coming around. I know we missed it for a little while, but yeah, we got some stuff going on here. We're taking this one out, getting it ready to go in another project that we've been working on the last almost a week. Not really. We got 9 days to get it together, so we'll see what happens. All right, guys. So here is a little project that have we been blessed with or cursed with?
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. So, guys, this is definitely not something that we would normally build, but we're definitely putting our little twist on it. So, fortunate enough, the owner of this car was like, hey, if you want to take this car and do what you want to it, you could use it. So, we were looking for a car just to use for some of the small tire outlaw stuff for a short period of time. My intentions was, if we could find something for the right deal, modify it to our uses, get out there back to the track, hanging out and having some fun, enjoying what we love to do, and possibly win one or two races with it, to help pay for the cost of the car, and then sell the thing once we build something that's back to being us. Mm-hmm. That was the intentions. We looked for a while, and shortly after we accepted this challenge, I guess you could say, we had other couple cars pop up, and it's still a possibility that we might go and snag like a tube chassis car that is ready for a big block, and that's ready for our drivetrain essentially, right? With a good rear chassis and so on and so forth. But we're down here in North Carolina right now at Flying Hammer. Mm-hmm. So some friends of ours, the Olsons, Tom and Clark Olson, they're some pretty talented guys, but they offered us their shop, and you'll start to see some things unfold. I was going to say unravel, but that's the wrong terminology. Thanks, babe. So unfold here in the next short while, and we're starting to would you say
establish ourselves?
Yeah, and kind of form what could be more of a team, I guess you could say, something like that. Kind of like more of a team, okay? So some very multi-dimensional people are down here in like the motorsports mecca, and that allows a two-person deal, the opportunity,
two-person team, the opportunity, yeah, what we are,
yeah, the ability to expand, and the drive. There's a lot of people down here with drive and ambition to do some cool things, which is the recipe for some cool things in the future. So yeah, we'll in some future videos we'll talk more in depth about everything that's going on, but you can't go 2 steps ahead of your plans, because sometimes plans don't always work out as planned, and we don't want to like promise things to the people that are following the journey and stuff like that and have them not come to fruition. Okay, so what do we get back to? What do you want to start with first?
Probably what we're gonna do next weekend.
Okay, guys, this car, you'll...
I mean, I don't know when this video is gonna go out. Is it gonna go out before the race or after the race?
Before the race.
Okay.
As soon as we start the car up, probably.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're 5 days away from racing.
yeah.
You're going to see this car and you're not going to believe it. But from Friday morning until this morning, Maddy came in to town about 2 o'clock in the morning. She didn't even come in the shop to say hi. And I was out here till about 7 o'clock in the morning working, okay?
I went right to bed.
Putting this stuff together. And I got quite a bit of stuff, like, figured out on the car. Mm-hmm. So I think we have we've had the car for a little over 7 days. But we were in New York for a couple days, so we got probably 4 days of worth of work on the car so far, and we got another 5 days until we have to race. Okay, so we got this car as a bare roller, completely bare. I guess he had some Christmas tree lighting in it still from doing the Cletus and Cars deal, and a couple other miscellaneous things, but yeah. In a second.
Okay.
And then, yeah. So, first off, I guess we'll tell them who this car is.
If you guys, I don't know how much you can see in the video, but
we already did some quite major modifications to this thing. But
yeah,
we got it with no motor, no transmission, no electronics, no radiator, no plumbing, no nothing. Absolutely stripped. Stripped. He went and put all this stuff that was in this car into his other car. So we had a rear end, we had a K-member, we had a seat, a bulky, freaking probably 20-pound steering column, and so on and so forth. And we stripped it. So it's all sitting upstairs in storage right now. So, I guess, you want to tell them?
So,
do you want to say who? Okay, put it this way. We're trying to debut this car, bring it out with our twist on it.
Yeah.
Next week. Okay? And this is where we met the guy for the first time ever 1 year ago when we debuted the 30 there, or the 33, the homegrown Hustler there. And,
really?
Yeah. I came out, I was shaggy. I was working like a freaking idiot to make it to Dig or Die. And we wouldn't have won that race, showing up to the track the first time with the homegrown Hustler. But we could have done pretty well there. The car did very well to about the 330, and then it shut off. Okay? We fought that issue for about a month until I found out the crank trigger had one bent tooth on it that was literally it would just have intermittent misses on it. So
at a higher RPM, right?
Yeah, at a higher
That's
RPM.
That's why we didn't notice it.
We could sit there on the two-step. We could drive it around, no issues. Then once in a while, it would just catch this one tooth that was bent. So when the car rolled, the Dirty 30 rolled, it got the one tooth. So we debuted the car there at Dig or Die, and he came through, and he's like, I want to know more about this car. And he saw some of the stuff I was doing with it, and he's like, man, there's some really cool stuff that's going on with this car. It's wrapped in an old body, and it doesn't necessarily look like much. And it definitely had its fair share of burnt up parts on it from the Dirty 30. The headers were all ugly looking, and the valve covers were all burnt up with still plastic and optic armor hanging off the charge pipes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was ratty looking. But this is where we met the guy. So, we raced with him a little bit last year, and as most of you all know that follow the channel, in November we got pit maneuvered, I guess you could say, and we lost the baddest car I ever built, and it would have been one of the baddest small back end of the track, small tire, no prep cars around. It did some unbelievable stuff. We never found the limits of the car, and we went fast with that car on some very marginal surfaces. Now, I didn't build that car to go front side, no preparation. We built that car strictly with the intentions of backside, poor surface, no prep racing, and it worked. So, we're trying to do everything that we can to make this Fox body have as similar of characteristics as the homegrown Hustler did, okay? So this car, we'll talk about it a little bit. Do you want to grab the camera and we'll do a little walk around or something? I'll explain some of the things that I'm doing. Okay. We good still?
Yeah.
So guys, this thing is it's a Fox body. It's Turbo John's Fox body. It's been something like 450s to the eighth, like 720s in the quarter. It's a mild steel cage, so it's not supposed to go. It's supposed to go. It's allowed to go 450s to the eighth with mild steel, but stock suspension, rear and front, as you can tell. I'm just joking. I took off the K member, I threw it upstairs, and I modified, built some brackets off the existing K member mounts for my 4-bar drop axle setup. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna be open with this car because it is outlaw. Okay, this is car's basically as outlaw as, not as outlaw as you can be, because like if we would have found a tube chassis car, that would have been like pushing exactly what these guys wanted to see in this outlaw small tire back end of the track stuff.
So the class rules are factory
Roof and quarters,
steel roof and quarters,
and 28-inch tall tire, and that's about it.
Yep.
Okay, so we got factory roof and quarters, factory dimension body, all that stuff, factory front cowl, so on and so forth. But I went and stripped the homegrown Hustler, took the drop axle out of it, the shocks out of it. All my electronics are still in that car. Those got to go in here in the next couple days. Once I finish up all the fabrication, I got to probably build a set of headers because I can't find some down and forward headers in time. So last night, 2 nights ago, whatever it was, as soon as I got back from New York, I came in here and worked the rest of the night. Changed the rear suspension geometry and stuff like that. We'll be changing the spring rate and some other things like that in the rear as well. Then before we left for New York, like the first or second day we got it, I built up the modular K member setup because I don't want to do too much stuff to this car that he can't unbolt and put his car back to a Mustang. So I built the K member setup, stretched the wheelbase. Generally speaking, the spindle mounts right here to the strut tower, and this is where the spindle would be. Okay, so a big block Chevy hangs about 10 inches in front of the spindle. Okay, we changed that around. I put the drop axle in there, and last night I made up some new 4 bars for it. The front suspension geometry, repurposed the wing mounts actually from the homegrown Hustler, because it was the same size tubing, and we had some bungs and everything like that to repurpose. So made some new 4-bar mounts, and we put this drop axle now 13.5 inches in front of the motor. Okay, in doing so, that puts the whole center of gravity and changes everything on the car, changes the whole aspect of the car. Before I did all that, I got the mid plate and front plate in it. This car was just it just had a front plate in it, and maybe factory motor mounts.
I think so.
I think so. So I'm not exactly sure. I had nothing in it when we got it. So I made up a mid plate and a front plate and got those in there. We put the engine as high in the chassis as I can to still be able to get our Turbo 400 out from underneath the transmission tunnel, because we didn't want to cut up his transmission tunnel. And the way the Fox bodies are, the floor does have some structure to the integrity of the chassis. So I didn't want to have to cut all that apart and do a whole bunch more fabrication work. So we got the motor sitting as high up in the chassis as we can, in the body, I guess we could say, to be able to fit the big block Chevy and the Turbo 400 in there. If we went with a Power Glide, we could have probably gotten it a little bit taller, but just because of the angle of the thing. But we're trying to use all the same stuff that I'm familiar with. Stuff that was in the Dirty 30, same engine combo basically that was in the Dirty 30 and the homegrown Hustler. So when it comes to power management and stuff like that, I can come in and have a better rough estimate of what we're targeting. Okay, so right now the big block Chevy's sitting at a 15-inch crankshaft center line, but we could do some adjusting here to fudge that number a couple inches. Okay, we can move it up to probably 16.5 inches or so with the way I did the shock mounts. Okay, so this square tubing right here, it's not the prettiest thing, but it's simple, it's strong, it has its integrity. That's just for the shock mounts. yesterday, whatever it was, I built up the front subframe from here. He had no forward bars coming down here, so I made up a new lower bar and the upper bars here. I don't have his front fenders because they just won't fit a 126-inch wheelbase Mustang. So I just eyeballed it, and John, I think it's close enough to be able to fit your factory fenders back on it. Don't quote me on it, but I think they'll fit. So if not, he can chop that off there and we can make a new bar for him. This will come off, so on and so forth. So we got yesterday I got the motor back together, got that all sealed up, got the radiator in, radiator mounted, shock tabs on. Tom went and made a little fuel cell mount for it. What else? Come on, babe, help me out. Oh, I got the steering in. We took out the lightweight steering column that I made for the homegrown Hustler and put it in here, just because it's a little bit bulky. And muscle memory is a big thing when it comes to getting into a new car and trying to be productive right off the bat. Okay, so the steering wheel and all that stuff is the same. My just muscle memory. So the buttons are the same. All the electronics are the same. So it'll be all plug and play electrical harness from the homegrown Hustler into this car. Some wires are going to be a little bit longer and looped. We'll do some service loops and stuff like that. But we don't have intentions of cutting any of the wires or anything like that out of the homegrown Hustler and putting them in here. So some of the stuff's going to be a little bit longer. It's not going to look necessarily the prettiest thing. So got the motor together last night. Probably about what time did you get back? 1 o'clock in the morning?
Something like that.
She got back in town about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I probably had the motor wrapped up right around 1 o'clock in the morning. And I got to give a shout out to, Right Stuff, because they're reusable. Right Stuff is like a silicone, and the reusable cans just are never freaking reusable. So that right there is probably like $30 worth of Right Stuff, because I wasn't.
It's not the first time a can has exploded like that.
They don't use. Well, I had to explode on purpose because otherwise I had to throw out a $30 can.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not the first time that we've had to do that.
I have a fresh can right here, but I just couldn't justify spending another $22 on a freaking can over being a little bit dirty. So my hands are still a little bit black because that stuff's nasty stuff. But I use it to help seal up the intake and stuff like that, just for when we have to turn off the booster, start like cramming some power into the damn thing. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Thanks for your multi-use freaking cans. So, yep. Where was I getting at? Sorry, a little tangent there. That stuff just irks me. It's a reusable can, freaking $30.
It's expensive, yeah.
It's like $30, and you're only supposed to use it once? Like, that's just ridiculous. Okay.
All right.
So,
what else we got going on in the car?
I got the steering wheel, the steering column, and all that stuff in. We ordered up a full containment seat from RaceQuip. We're dealers for them. After the accident, the 33 accident, I got bounced around on them pretty good. Luckily, I got a hard head. Lady Gangster doesn't necessarily appreciate my hard-headedness. I don't think some of my family members appreciate my hard-headedness, but it saved me twice in some two pretty bad accidents. So I appreciate my hard head, but we can't really depend on that. So we ordered up a new carbon fiber RaceQuip helmet for myself and a full containment seat to put in this deal so I could have a nice little honeycomb in there, and should be pretty safe in case anything, in case we get in a police chase and they pit maneuver us again. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna run his same wheels and stuff like that on the rear. We got some tires and stuff like that to go on the front for my whole drop axle setup. Whack Customs built me another drop axle that shipped a couple days ago, but I don't know if it's gonna. That means I gotta rebuild all my steering setup and everything like that. So, where we at? We're doing some stuff with the rear car, yeah, but we're not talking about that just yet. What else? That Right Stuff deal just knocked me off. But yeah, I got finished.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, what do you have left to do?
I gotta build some headers. We don't have. I've been trying like hell to find some down and forward Fox body headers, but I can't find them. And we don't really want to post nothing publicly just yet because we need to get this car up and running and make a couple test hits to make sure everything is gonna work as planned. But it should work out pretty well.
So you need headers,
Gotta build
which you
headers.
might end up building.
Yeah.
We got to do plumbing,
Plumbing and electrical.
electronics.
Mount the seat. Build a parachute mount, parachute handle. That's all stuff that should be pretty dang simple. I got the steering mocked up in here. We need to order up a new U-joint and a new U-joint just so I could reuse that the half shaft for another deal. The upper piece of the slip shaft that I built, we're just gonna make another upper half that will get us down to the right angle, because this wheelbase mid plate to axle is a little bit longer to compensate for some of the other. It's basically a big educated guess based on weight bias and suspension travel and where the car sits weight wise front to back from the factory to where I put it. So now we basically stretch this wheelbase like 25 inches, 25-ish inches, a little over 2 feet. So we're probably gonna get a hold of Eric Yost. He's local, to flow match the injectors, or flow the injectors for us, make sure those are all good, so we can go put 25-30 pounds of boost to this thing at dig or die and try to go just as good a mile an hour as we did with the homegrown Hustler. I don't know if it's gonna do it. This whole deal might be a flop, but with a little bit of testing, I think we could have it fairly competitive in the first couple weeks of testing. But we're gonna have like maybe 1 day of testing if we get lucky. So if we got 1 full day of testing, I'll feel fairly confident. So I got to make a couple new lines. The feed side of the system's the same because the aeromotive belt drive pump is in the same location, so the feed lines are going to be the same. Had to make a new return line. Got to finish up the feed line to the pump. Coolant lines are a little bit different, but I just got to weld up the bungs on the front plate so that will work. We just had the caliper off because I was doing whatever the hell I was doing. I had it off for one reason or another, so we got to get the caliper back on. Set the toe and all that stuff, but that's like last finalized things after everything's sitting at ride height and so on and so forth. I gotta finish up mounting our water pump and what else? Building headers is gonna be the next big step. So tonight I'm gonna finish off some support bars in the cage. I added some supports to the rear. It's a factory rear suspension deal. The factory triangulated 4-link of a Fox body. So I added some supports back there. I'm gonna add a bar, a dash bar to the car. Gonna add another bar in front of my feet, just in case, because that's a pretty big heavy motor there. And a dash bar is just, car should have one. Every car should have one. We gotta do some rear stuff to the rear of the car, and then
we're good to go. Like,
yeah,
all set.
all set. But yesterday was a pretty dang good 24 hours or so. Like, I didn't have a motor together to it's sitting like this. So yesterday was a good day. But when you're building stuff, some days you'll work a whole day and it looks like you did an hour's worth of work, and other days you'll work a day and it looks like you did 3 days worth of work. That's just part of the process. And like we say, said in the beginning of this journey, you got to be dedicated to the journey, like the whole ride, and not just the final picture. Because if you're just committed to like a win, or you're just committed to what would you want to say? If you're just committed to the end result and not the journey to get to that end result, it's very easy to get discouraged on big projects. And this project's pretty small, but we got another project that's going to be coming up pretty soon, and we'll post that one up probably just after dig or die of what project that is. Me and Maddy drove about a mile and a half down a back road and pulled this thing out of some weeds that were behind a barn that burnt down last year. And y'all might be familiar with it. So that car project's gonna be pretty cool. We should have a shop to be working in pretty here soon. So Maddy will start on her Chevy 2 project, and I'll be working on the homegrown Hustler. So guys, Lady Gangster and I greatly appreciate it. Tell them thank you, babe.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.